Yeah, she's not who you think she is in the dark. Most men go their entire lives never knowing what female nature is truly capable of, especially behind closed doors. What she desires, what she craves, what she's willing to do when she's with the right man. It would genuinely scare the version of you that walked in here not knowing any of this. Dark psychology, primal attraction, female desire running deeper than you ever imagined. This video isn't for everyone. But if you stay, everything changes. What you're about to hear isn't theory. It's the raw, unfiltered truth about female behavior, sexual polarity, and the psychological dynamics most men never get taught. Let's get into it. And hey, if this kind of content speaks to you, if it's opening doors you didn't even know were closed, do something powerful right now. Like this video, drop a comment, and share it with a man in your life who needs to hear this. You might just change his entire trajectory. Let's build together. The exposed truth about female nature, what she's capable of doing in bed, might scare you. Let's get something straight right from the jump. Most men walk through life completely blind to what's really happening inside the mind of a woman, especially when things get intimate. They think they understand her. They think they know her patterns, her desires, her limits. But the truth? What they don't know is costing them everything. Female nature runs deeper than any man expects, and the bedroom is where that depth becomes impossible to ignore. Pay close attention. Here's a question most men never dare to ask. Why does she act completely different in private than she does in public? That contrast isn't accidental. It's not random. It's actually one of the most revealing expressions of female desire that exists. Women are wired deep in their psychology to compartmentalize. They show the world one version of themselves, and they reveal another, far more unfiltered version in intimate spaces. Understanding this isn't about judgment, it's about masculine awareness. And that awareness changes everything. Think about the last time a woman surprised him, truly caught him off guard with something she said or did in a private moment. That feeling of shock, that's the gap between what he thought he knew and what female nature actually is. Most men never close that gap. They stay confused, reactive, and honestly, a little intimidated. But the men who study behavioral patterns, who take the time to understand the deeper wiring of attraction, those men never get caught off guard again. That's the difference. Now here's where it gets real. Women are not passive creatures when it comes to desire, not even close. Society pushes this image of female sexuality as something soft, gentle, and always responsive to the man's lead. That's a comfortable lie. The truth hidden inside female instincts is far more primal than most men are prepared to handle. She has fantasies she won't whisper to her closest friend. She has cravings rooted in something ancient and raw, and whether she acts on them depends entirely on one thing, the man in front of her. That one thing? It's called sexual polarity. It's the invisible magnetic force that determines whether she sees him as a man worth surrendering to, or just another option she tolerates. When polarity is high, something shifts in her. Her guard drops. Her real self surfaces. And that real self, the one operating from female instincts and raw, unfiltered want, she'll do things that would genuinely shock the version of himself that walked in not knowing any of this. This isn't theory. This is the mechanics of deep attraction in motion. Most men operate from a place of insecurity without even realizing it. They're constantly seeking approval, reading her moods, adjusting their behavior to avoid conflict or rejection. That kind of energy doesn't just kill attraction. It actually triggers a different response in her psychology. Dark psychology in the context of female behavior means this. Women are subconsciously drawn to tension, challenge, and unpredictability. A man who is always available, always agreeable, always soft, he becomes invisible to her desire. Her subconscious desire craves something that feels harder to hold on to. And this is where masculine frame enters the conversation. Frame is everything. It's the psychological container a man creates through his presence, his stillness, his refusal to be moved by chaos. When a man operates with a solid frame, something fascinating happens to her. She starts testing him, yes, but she also starts leaning in. Her attraction dynamics shift. She becomes more expressive, more open, and yes, far more uninhibited in intimate settings. What she's willing to explore, what she's capable of revealing, it directly mirrors the strength of the frame he holds. Here's something that'll flip the script on everything he thought he knew. Women don't just respond to physical attraction, they respond to psychological dominance. Not aggression, not control in a toxic sense, but the quiet, grounded confidence of a man who knows exactly who he is and refuses to shrink for anyone. That energy hits her nervous system before a single word is spoken. It's felt in the way he walks into a room, the way he holds eye contact just a beat longer than expected. That's the trigger she's been waiting for. Let's talk about emotional control, because this one trips up even the most self-aware men. A woman in an intimate setting is constantly, subconsciously reading his emotional state. Is he steady? Is he reactive? Does he panic when she pulls back? Or does he stay grounded? The man who stays emotionally composed, who doesn't chase or beg or fold under pressure, that man becomes deeply magnetic to her. His emotional control isn't coldness, it's strength, and her body and mind respond to that strength in ways that most men have never even experienced firsthand. Now, here's a layer that most content out there completely ignores. Seductive psychology isn't just about what he does, it's about what he doesn't do. The strategic pause, the moment he chooses not to respond immediately, the space he leaves unfilled. Women are wired to fill emotional and psychological gaps. When a man creates that space with intention, her imagination activates. And a woman's imagination, especially when primal attraction is already present, is 10 times more powerful than anything he could physically do or say. Silence, used correctly, is one of the most seductive forces alive. Take Marcus, for example, a 34-year-old guy who spent years trying everything to keep women interested. He was attentive, communicative, and always showing up with energy and effort. And yet, every relationship followed the same pattern. She'd pull away, lose interest, and eventually leave. Marcus couldn't figure it out. Then he started studying attraction dynamics and female behavior decoding, and something clicked. He realized he'd been giving everything away for free, with zero tension, zero mystery. The moment he pulled back, held his frame, and stopped over-explaining himself, the entire dynamic flipped. She came to him. Marcus's story isn't unique. Thousands of men are running that same exhausting pattern right now, wondering why effort and availability aren't translating into deeper connection or real desire. The answer lives inside power dynamics. Desire doesn't grow in comfort alone. It grows in contrast. When she feels the warmth of his presence and also senses the possibility that she could lose it, something primal activates in her. That's not manipulation. That's an honest understanding of how female desire actually functions at its deepest level, and it changes the game completely. Let's go a little deeper now, because this is where things get genuinely eye-opening. Women have what experts in psychological insight call layered desire. On the surface, she says she wants safety, consistency, and emotional availability. And she does want those things. But underneath that surface layer lives something far more complex. She also craves being challenged, being surprised, being with a man whose hidden motives she can't fully decode. That tension between safety and mystery isn't a contradiction. It's the very engine that keeps real, lasting attraction alive in long-term relationships. Here's a practical way to think about it. Imagine attraction as a fire. Comfort is the shelter around the fire, it keeps it from going out. But what actually feeds the flame? Tension, unpredictability, the feeling that he's not entirely predictable or fully possessed. Sexual strategy, understood at this level, means a man learns to balance both. He's the safe harbor and the storm at the same time. He gives her enough warmth to trust him and enough edge to keep her wanting more. That balance, when mastered, unlocks a version of her that most men never even knew existed. And now, this is the part that most men are completely unprepared for. When a woman feels truly seen, not just physically, but psychologically, something in her unleashes. Her female instincts stop being filtered by social conditioning and self-censorship. She stops performing the version of herself that the world expects and starts operating from a raw, unedited place. What she's capable of in that state, emotionally, mentally, and yes, physically, goes far beyond what most men have ever witnessed. This is the territory that male self-mastery opens up. And it starts entirely with him. Here's the uncomfortable truth that separates aware men from the rest. Most men are afraid of a woman's full expression. They don't say it out loud, but deep down, when she gets intense, when she gets bold, when she reveals the unfiltered layers of her subconscious desire, it makes them retreat. And the moment he retreats, she retreats too, forever. The men who can hold space for her full expression, without flinching, without shrinking, without needing to control it, those are the men she opens up to completely. That capacity is built through masculine mindset work, nothing else. This is where emotional intelligence becomes a man's most powerful weapon, not just in relationships, but in every area of his life. Understanding her emotional landscape, knowing when to push and when to pull back, reading what she's communicating beneath the words she's actually saying, that's a skill. And like any skill, it's trainable. Resources like The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, or channels dedicated to modern masculinity and relational psychology, are solid starting points. A man who invests in this kind of knowledge doesn't just become better in relationships, he becomes better everywhere. And right here, a quick but important pause. If this content is cracking open things you've never seen this clearly before, things that were always there but nobody had the guts to actually say out loud, then don't wait. Hit that like button right now and subscribe to this channel before you forget, because what's coming next goes even deeper. This is the kind of knowledge most men never get access to, and every second you're not locked in, you're leaving it on the table. Don't sleep on this. Let's keep going. Now let's talk about something that lives right at the intersection of attraction triggers and raw human psychology. Women are deeply, almost neurologically responsive to a man who understands pacing, not just physically, but in every interaction. The man who rushes, who's always in a hurry to get to the next moment, signals insecurity, but the man who moves with deliberate, unhurried confidence, he signals something else entirely. He signals that he's in control of himself and of the space between them. That kind of pacing is one of the most underrated attraction triggers in existence. Let's be honest about something. The bedroom is not just a physical space. It's a psychological arena. Everything that's been built or broken outside of it shows up inside it. The psychological leverage a man has in intimate moments is a direct reflection of how he's been showing up in every other moment. His presence, his groundedness, his ability to lead without forcing, all of it compounds. Women don't separate the man who leads the dinner conversation from the man who leads in private. It's the same man. And she's been watching, reading, and deciding long before the lights go down. This is where female behavior decoding becomes less of a concept and more of a lived practice. Reading her isn't about obsessing over her every move. It's about developing the kind of awareness that picks up on subtle shifts, the way her energy changes when he holds his ground, the way her voice softens when he leads with calm confidence, the way she leans in physically when he stops leaning in emotionally. These microsignals are her unspoken language, and the man who learns to read that language gains a level of psychological insight into her world that most men will never even come close to accessing. And here's what that access actually looks like in real life. It looks like a woman who initiates, a woman who expresses herself without being asked, a woman who brings energy, creativity, and yes, a kind of boldness in intimate spaces that genuinely catches him off guard in the best possible way. That's not fantasy. That's what happens when sexual polarity is high, when trust is deep, and when a man has done the internal work required to create that kind of environment. She doesn't hold back with a man like that. She can't. Her female instincts won't let her. Here's a truth that cuts deep. Most men spend years chasing the right woman when what they actually need to chase is the right version of themselves. Male self-mastery isn't a buzzword. It's the single most attractive thing a man can develop. When he's disciplined, purpose-driven, and emotionally grounded, he stops being reactive to her moods and starts being the steady force she orbits around. That shift in dynamic, from chasing to being chosen, is one of the most profound transformations a man can experience. And it all begins with a decision to stop outsourcing his worth to her approval. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Some men reading this will feel a little uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is where masculine awareness gets forged. The reason this content feels sharp is because it's cutting through years of conditioning that told men to be smaller, softer, and more apologetic about their nature. Modern masculinity isn't about being hard or cold. It's about being real. It's about knowing himself so deeply that no woman, no situation, and no social pressure can shake the foundation of who he is. That's the man women are magnetically drawn to. Let's circle back to something important. The concept of hidden motives within female psychology. This isn't about painting women as manipulative or calculating. It's about recognizing that human beings, all of them, operate on multiple levels simultaneously. She might say she's fine when she isn't. She might pull away when she actually wants to be pursued correctly. Understanding these layers isn't about playing games. It's about having the psychological insight to respond to what's actually happening rather than what's being said. That gap between words and truth, that's where most relationships silently fall apart. A man who has done genuine masculine mindset work doesn't get destabilized by that gap. He reads it, acknowledges it, and responds from a place of strength rather than confusion or frustration. That's not a superhuman skill. It's a learnable one. Practical tools like journaling his own emotional triggers, studying Stoic philosophy through authors like Ryan Holiday, or engaging with communities built around modern masculinity and relational awareness, all of these build the internal architecture needed to navigate her complexity without losing himself in the process. Growth here is incremental, but the compound effect is staggering. Here's the final layer of dark psychology that ties everything together. Women are deeply attracted to men who carry a sense of controlled mystery, not deception, not games, but a man whose depth isn't fully on display, whose next move isn't always predictable, whose interior world feels rich and layered. That quality activates something ancient in her primal attraction wiring. It tells her subconscious that he's a man worth figuring out, and a woman who feels compelled to figure him out, she's already hooked. That's the quiet power of psychological dominance operating at its highest, most authentic level. So what does a man do with all of this? He stops waiting for permission to be the man he's capable of being. He invests in himself, not to impress her, but because male self-mastery is its own reward. He studies attraction dynamics, not to manipulate, but to understand. He holds his frame, not to be rigid, but to be reliable. He reads her behavioral patterns, not to control, but to connect more deeply. Every piece of knowledge he absorbs becomes a brick in the foundation of a man who doesn't just attract women. He attracts the right woman, on his terms, in his time. And here's the thing, nobody tells him at the end of all this. The most powerful discovery isn't about her at all, it's about him. When a man truly understands female nature, when he decodes sexual strategy, when he masters emotional intelligence and operates from an unshakable masculine frame, he realizes something profound. He was never broken. He was just uninformed. That information gap is what this entire journey is about closing. And now that the door is open, now that the truth has been exposed, there's only one question left worth asking. What is he going to do with it? So here's the real question. Now that you know what's actually driving her behavior, now that you understand the hidden layers of female nature, the primal attraction wiring, the sexual polarity that either pulls her in or pushes her away completely, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep showing up the same way you always have? Or are you finally ready to become the man who makes her feel something she's never felt before? Because here's the truth. Everything covered in this video, every layer of dark. Psychology, every insight into female desire and masculine frame, it only works if you actually apply it. Knowledge sitting still is just noise, but knowledge in motion, that's transformation. So start today, not tomorrow, today. Now here's what I want you to do right now. Drop a comment below and write, "I'm taking my frame back." Just those 5 words. That simple act of declaration is the first move of a man who's decided to level up. Own it publicly. It matters more than you think. And from the bottom of my heart, genuinely thank you. Thank you for showing up, for staying until the end, for being the kind of man who actually seeks this level of understanding. That alone already puts you ahead of most. This wasn't easy content to sit with, and the fact that you did says everything about who you're becoming. If this video hit different for you, do me a small favor. Hit that like button. It helps this message reach the men who need it most. Share this with someone in your circle who's ready to wake up. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because what's coming next goes even deeper into the truth most men are never taught. The journey's just getting started. Let's go.